Jennifer here. Today I'll be showing you how to add a very simple beaded edging to your work. In this method I'll be adding individual beads as I crochet. This edging uses only 2 stitches, chains and a beaded slip stitch. You can use it to add a refined finish to shawls and scarves, as well as shirt collars and hems. Let's begin by going over all the materials we'll need. First, you'll need the object that you'll be adding your edging to, of course. For this tutorial, I'll be adding an edging to my Sweet Season Shawl. This is a lightweight, lacy shawl that's good for wrapping around your shoulders on summer evenings. It's got a nice and simple stitch pattern, and I think a beaded edging could really liven it up. I'll leave a link to the pattern for the Sweet Season Shawl in the description. For the edging, I'll be using this fingering weight yarn, and this is actually the same yarn that I used for my project. You could use a different yarn if you like, but you'll get the best results by using a yarn of similar weight and fiber content to what you used in the main part of your project. Like the yarn, you'll also want to use the same hook that you used for your project. This is a size E4 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. Now we have the star of the show, the beads. These are size 6/0 round seed beads. These typically come in 20-gram bags. 20 grams yields about 240 beads. I found that size 6/0 seed beads work well when you're using the Add-a-Bead-As-You-Go method with fingering weight yarn. If you're using a lighter or heavier weight yarn, you'll want to adjust your bead size accordingly. To Add-a-Bead-As-You-Go, you'll need a smaller crochet hook as well. And I have a little collection here of steel crochet hooks. We're going to test out each one and see which will be best for the job. So you'll want your crochet hook to be just small enough to fit into the bead. So let me grab a bead here and we'll test these out. This is a 0.9 millimeter crochet hook and it fits. But if I can get this up here so you can see, it's also a very, very small little hook on the end there. We want for the hook to be small enough to fit through the bead, but it also needs to be large enough to grab the yarn and pull it through the bead. And that might make things a little tough. Let's see if these other ones fit. Okay, so this is a 1 millimeter hook, and it also fits. Test out this next one, it's 1.25. And it also fits. And then you just keep going up until you find one that doesn't fit. So this was the 1.5 millimeter and it does not fit. The bead doesn't fit. So we know then that 1.25 millimeters is the hook that we'll use for adding beads to our shawl. The edging pattern that I'll show you here works with a multiple of 4 stitches plus 1. So for this reason, it's very well suited for adding an edging to a granny stitch or groups of 3 stitches separated by a chain space, like what I have here in my shawl. But if the last row or round of your project ends with a different multiple of stitches, you can always adjust the length of the chains between beaded slip stitches. For instance, if the last row in your work has a multiple of 5 plus 1, you can chain 5 instead of 4. If your work has a multiple of 3 plus 1, you can chain 3 instead of 4. Now we're ready to begin adding our beaded edging. You can start by joining your yarn with a slip stitch in the first stitch of your row or round. In my case, I'm actually continuing after the last row of my project, so my yarn's already attached. All I need to do is grab my larger hook, place the loop on the hook, and I'm ready to go. Let's start with a chain 4. So there's my 4 chains. We're going to remove our hook and pick up the smaller hook. Go ahead and grab a bead and add that onto your hook. Place the loop on the hook and pull it through the bead. Then you can remove your smaller hook and put that aside and grab the larger hook. Place the loop back onto the larger hook. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches and make a slip stitch in this chain space. So skip 3 stitches and make a slip stitch in the next stitch or space. Insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through, and then pull through the loop on your hook to complete that slip stitch. So there's our bead. Let's try that again. So chain 4, and then pull out the loop a little bit and remove your hook. Place that larger hook aside and pick up the smaller hook. We're going to pick up a bead. You can actually use your hook to pick up the bead to make it a little bit faster. So there's my bead on my hook. Insert your hook into that loop, or put the loop back on your hook, and then pull that through. Pull the loop through the bead. You can pull that out a little bit. Remove your hook. Place that smaller hook aside. Pick up your larger hook. Return the loop to your larger hook. We're going to skip 3 stitches and make a slip stitch in the next chain space, or stitch if that's your case, like so. One more time. Go a little faster this time. We're going to chain 4. I'm going to remove my hook, pick up a bead, grab the loop and pull it through the bead. We're going to switch hooks. Skip 3 and make a slip stitch in the next chain space, like so. And you'll just keep doing that all the way across your work, or around if you're working in the round, adding your beaded edging to your project. I love when you can find a simple way, a simple and fast way to embellish your work. I love these kind of things. And once you've, been going at it for a little while, get a little practice, it becomes a lot easier, and it's almost meditative, just picking up these beads and adding them to your work. It's kind of fun. I love when you can find stuff like that. Love when the finishing touch is just as much fun as the rest of the work. Okay, so I've done a few here. Let's see what this looks like. Isn't that nice? Nice and simple, but it really adds a little something extra. There's what it looks like without it. And there's our beaded edging. Just a little touch to add something extra to our work. I love it. And what I really like about this particular technique is how by adding the bead at the end of our chain 4, it positions it right above, pretty much right above the space there. So the bead sits aligned with the space. And then you have this nice, almost scalloped edge created by the chains in between each bead. It's subtle, but I think it's really nice. It's an easy way to just add a subtle scalloped edge. And what I really love is that it looks pretty much the same on both sides. So it looks just as good on one side as it does on the other. I've created this little swatch here to demonstrate some of the situations you might run into as you're working across your row or around your work. So for this first one, I'm just going to pretend that this is my row and that it ends here. So you have your last 3 stitches, so it's going to end right there at that last double crochet in the group. So when you get to your last 3 stitches, chain 4, skip the next 2 double crochet, and slip stitch in the last stitch. Just as simple as that. So no need to add a bead on the last one. Just go ahead and slip stitch there and fasten off, and you're good to go. And your row will look like that. For this next demonstration, we're going to pretend that this is the center corner on, let's say, like a triangle shawl. So if this is my triangle shawl, I have, this is my first side here, there's the center corner space, and then we have our other side on over here. And I've worked a chain 4, and the way that the easiest way I've found, or the best way I've found to place a bead right in the center of that chain 2 space is to go ahead and slip stitch into the chain 2 space like so, then chain 1, pick up a bead with your smaller hook, go ahead and add that to the loop and complete the beaded slip stitch. So slip stitch into that chain 2 space. And that will add a bead right at the top of your slip stitch. Here, I'll make another beaded slip stitch so we can see what that looks like. See how it places that bead right at the center of the chain 2 space? So once again, that's slip stitch, chain 1, and then beaded slip stitch all into the chain 2 space. For this last little demonstration, I've worked all the way around my little swatch here, and I've back to the beginning, and I need to add a bead to that corner, because where we started we just had a chain 4. So just like before, I'm going to chain 4, and then I'm going to work a beaded slip stitch into this final chain 2 space. So slip stitch, and then just like our other corner, chain 1, grab our smaller hook with a bead, and add that to our loop, pull the loop through, and then go ahead and slip stitch again into that chain space to add your last bead, and then you can fasten off. And it's all good to go. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and that you have a great time adding this simple beaded edging to your projects. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more crochet techniques, tips, and tutorials, and check out the links in the video notes for more ways to find me and my patterns.